So here's the big trade from yesterday, Jay. It kind of came out of nowhere. The Kansas City Chiefs trade a conditional third, which I suppose means it's a fourth now, and if he hits certain things, it becomes a third, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a sixth rounder in the draft to the Giants for wide receiver Kadarius Toney, who was a top 20 pick a couple years ago.
A little injury prone, though. Had some issues with our Giants.
And you heard reports on our air out of training camp and stuff like he's always last in line. They didn't like the way he was getting after things, so he's injury prone. The coaches clearly didn't like some other stuff about him. It's at least the reports were.
Is it the left hamstring? Is it the right one? You don't want to go on a trip to London. Which one is it?
But the dude is extremely talented. And while on the Giants, maybe he could be on the Chiefs, all he's got to be is a matchup problem, another matchup problem on the offense. So you have McCole Hardman. When is he going to turn a corner? He is what he is, but he's still a fast dude, right? Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He is not a number one, but he is a take the lid off the defense kind of guy. Can get behind your defense. A fast dude.
Kelsey's number one. Kelsey's the number one
guy.
You got Juju Smith-Schuster too.
So you have Kelsey, who's your, as Key would define it, your alpha receiver because you run the passing game through him. But now everywhere you look, there is a fast matchup problem on the field. So they get a top 20 pick essentially for a third and a sixth that works for the Chiefs, and it could be a tipping point in their offense. It just makes it that much more difficult. The Giants get rid of a guy they weren't going to use anyway and get some extra draft capital. I think it's a win-win.
I like the move. I mean, I know yesterday when it went down, I was like, okay, like that's a luxury. That's an added on bonus to a team that it feels like, look, if you want the vertical stretch game to open up a little bit, he can provide that, right? Just having him on the field gives it that option to do a lot of other things.
Count for him,
right? Like you can throw screens to it, jet sweeps. You can do all these different things. You can. I trust Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid to implement him into the system where you're not asking him.
Well, if it works, it's Andy Reid.
But if it doesn't work,
not
on this show.
If it
works, it's Eric Bieniemy on this show.
I see.
Yeah, James already yelled at me about that earlier. But like, I'll tell you what. So that move happening, it brought me back to a different point though. Yesterday when it went down, I'm like, okay, Robbie Anderson now, Kadarius Toney, they've been traded for cheap prices. It feels like you got that going on, right? Like you're also thinking about, okay, like Robert Quinn was moved from Chicago. They're letting go of pieces. Like that's another addition to a championship-like team. What the hell is Green Bay doing?
Okay, wait. Before we get to Green Bay,
what is Green Bay doing?
You and I have talked about Kadarius Toney, and I really do think he's not when you have a really talented player who's expected to be one thing. I think of even like a very different personality and work ethic and all this kind of stuff. But Andre Iguodala on the Sixers, he's not the number one scorer on a championship team. They were kind of trying to cast him
back when he was like AI,
way back,
Iggy,
way back
when he was like leading the team in scoring.
But but when Iguodala just needs to do his part on a team, then it's like unfair.
Like with Golden State.
Yeah. He's just got to play defense and be the fourth scorer or fifth option. Oh, my God. That's Kadarius Toney. To me, it sounds like that's how you're thinking of him, too, on the Chiefs.
There are a lot of question marks around the character. Now, that could be how the Brian Dable situation panned out.
He didn't draft him.
Yep, how he handled it. And, maybe Andy Reid or Eric Bieniemy can be that guy to open up that war chest for him. But the history doesn't prove that for me in the short sample size. One
of the things that you do when you look at the Giants draft, the way they take Wandell for, they kind of got a guy like that who's even a little more explosive and stronger in Kadarius Toney. That's weird. Well, that administration, Joe Shane, Brian Dable didn't draft Kadarius Toney. So then you start looking at that, and they like Wandell. Then you see Kadarius, then you hear reports over the summer. Kadarius Toney, they don't love him in training camp. The media thinks he's not looking like he's getting after it, this and that. Plus, he's injury prone, right? So you start to read into that. Mm-hmm. And then he falls out of favor. He's not on the field that much. So I think it is fair for you to make certain assumptions, Jay. Like, it looks like maybe he doesn't have what it takes so far to be a number one. But Bart sees number one type receiver talent there. And remember, when he was drafted, he's almost like one of these hybrid receiver back types. Like, he can carry the ball.
That's why I said there's a lot of upside. You got him for cheap. You see the potential. Then, implement him and let him figure it out. If he doesn't figure it out, it doesn't hurt you overall for the move.
Well, between Reid and Bieniemy and Mahomes, I think they're
I
going to
trust in that.
Whatever's in there, we're going to find out what the upside is because they're about. I don't think of them as a number one. I think of them as a weapon. Like we had Weapon X. We had Brian Dawkins from the defense of the Eagle safety back in the day, and that's how I think of Kadarius Toney, like a weapon. Not like Dawkins, but like a weapon X. This is a guy who can kind of do some stuff for you that's hard to account for. By the way, I know things didn't work out off the field. Remember Dave Meggett back in the day on the Giants? It was like, boy, he could do a lot for you.
So he's a weapon with the upside of potentially having the talent to be a number one.
Right.
I like that. But it does bring me back to my question once again. I've seen a lot of teams make moves for the cheap. Robbie Anderson, Kadarius Toney, Robert Quinn. What the hell are the Green Bay Packers doing? We talk about their offense struggling to a degree, Aaron Rodgers not really finding his way. We're seeing these additional pieces being added on to other teammates. Like Gutekunst, we've heard Aaron Rodgers talk about this multiple times. Oh, I trust in Gutekunst. I have faith that he will make the right move. They have yet to make any moves.
Yeah, especially, look, you saw it in the offseason. This always happens in the NFL. And I brought this up again, as a Giants fan with the offensive line problems. I saw Shaq Mason was traded to the Bucs for a 5th-round pick. And I thought, well, okay, stop right there, everyone. I don't want to hear how hard it is to fix an offensive line. Guy like Shaq Mason's available for a 5th-round pick. You get Robert Quinn moved, as you mentioned. It's always easy to look at those kind of moves and say, what is this team doing? They're standing pat, right? But the Packers' track record in terms of that stuff has been pretty good recently, being able to get to the playoffs every year. The question is,
but never
what do they do to get over the hump? The Chiefs advance in the playoffs every year, and here's a move that I think will result in them advancing probably farther than they would have otherwise.
Well, the issues came from the track record that they would try to draft talent and build talent over time instead of going out and getting those dominant wide receivers or people to help Aaron Rodgers truly get there and get over the top.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.